let's talk about steak. For years, the prevailing wisdom was simple. Get a pan ripping hot, throw the steak in, sear it hard on both sides. Maybe finish it in the oven. This method works, sort of. But it often leads to a steak with a thick band of overcooked gray meat just below the surface and a cooler, rarer center. The temperature gradient is steep. What if I told you there's a better way? A method that guarantees a perfectly cooked edge-to-edge pink interior every single time. This method is the reverse sear. It flips the traditional process on its head. Instead of searing first, we cook it low and slow first, then finish with a blistering hot sear. The magic of the reverse sear lies in its gentle, controlled approach to cooking. By starting the steak in a low-temperature oven, we bring the meat's internal temperature up very gradually. This slow heating process ensures that the entire cut of meat cooks evenly. Before we embark on this culinary journey, we must assemble our tools and ingredients. First and foremost, you need a good digital instant read thermometer. This is non-negotiable. It is the single most important tool for guaranteeing your steak is cooked to the exact doneness you desire. Next on the list is a wire rack set inside a foil-lined baking sheet. Now for the star of the show, the steak. You want a thick-cut ribeye, at least 1.5 to 2 inches thick. Look for a steak with plenty of beautiful intramuscular fat, also known as marbling. A prime-grade steak will have the best marbling, but a good choice-grade ribeye will also yield fantastic results with this method. Finally, let's talk about the supporting cast of ingredients. Simplicity often reigns supreme here. You'll need coarse salt like kosher salt or sea salt, and coarsely ground black pepper. For searing, you'll need a high smoke point fat. Grapeseed oil, canola oil, or even clarified butter, ghee, are excellent choices. I also like to have some unsalted butter, a few cloves of garlic, and a sprig of a hardy herb like rosemary or thyme on hand for basting the steak during the final moments of the sear to add another layer of aromatic flavor. With our station prepared, the process begins. The first step is preparation, and it starts well before the oven is even preheated. Take your beautiful ribeye steak out of the refrigerator. Pat it completely dry with paper towels. Moisture is the enemy of a good sear, so be thorough. Now, season it generously on all sides with coarse salt and black pepper. Don't be shy here. A thick steak can handle a lot of seasoning. Once seasoned, place the steak on the wire rack set inside your baking sheet. When you're ready to cook, preheat your oven to a low temperature. I find that somewhere between 225 and 275 degrees Fahrenheit is the sweet spot. Place the baking sheet with the steak into the preheated oven. If you're using a leave-in probe thermometer, insert it into the thickest part of the steak, avoiding any large pockets of fat or bone. Cook the steak until it reaches an internal temperature about 10 to 15 degrees below your final desired doneness. For a medium-rare finish, you'll want to pull the steak out of the oven when it hits around 115 to 120 degrees. This slow cook can take anywhere from 30 minutes to over an hour, depending on the thickness of your steak and the exact oven temperature. Patience here is a virtue that will be rewarded handsomely. Once the steak has reached its target internal temperature, remove it from the oven. At this point, it will look rather unappetizing, a pale grayish-brown color. Do not panic. This is exactly what it should look like. The magic is about to happen. The moment of truth has arrived. It's time to transform that pale, gently cooked steak into a masterpiece with a deep, dark, flavorful crust. This is the sear. Begin by getting your cast iron skillet screaming hot. Place it over high heat for several minutes until it starts to smoke slightly. Once the pan is properly preheated, add a tablespoon of your high smoke point oil. It should shimmer and may even smoke a little almost instantly. Carefully place the rested steak into the hot skillet. You should be greeted by a loud, aggressive sizzle. Let the steak sear for about 60 to 90 seconds on the first side without moving it. Resisting the urge to peek is crucial. Let the pan do its work. After the first side is beautifully browned, flip the steak. Now is the time to add your aromatics for an extra layer of flavor. Add a few tablespoons of butter to the pan along with the crushed garlic cloves and the sprig of rosemary or thyme. As the butter melts and foams, carefully tilt the pan towards you, allowing the melted butter to pool. Use a large spoon to continuously baste the steak, spooning the fragrant bubbling butter over its surface. The final step of the sear is to render the fat cap. Using a pair of tongs, hold the steak on its side, pressing the thick strip of fat along the edge directly against the hot surface of the pan. Move it back and forth until the fat is rendered golden brown and crispy. This step adds another dimension of texture and flavor that should not be skipped. Once all sides are seared to perfection, immediately remove the steak from the pan and place it on a clean cutting board. The entire searing process should take no more than a few minutes. Your steak is now cooked, but it is not yet ready to eat. You have guided your steak through its slow cook and its fiery sear. It now rests on the cutting board, a testament to your patience and skill. The final rest is arguably as important as any part of the cooking process. Let the steak rest on the cutting board for a good 10 minutes. During this time, the muscle fibers will relax, and the juices will redistribute evenly throughout the meat. While the steak is resting, you can put the finishing touches on your meal. This is a great time to whip up a quick pan sauce using the fond, the browned bits left in the skillet. A pat of cold butter swirled in at the end will create a simple, elegant sauce to drizzle over the sliced steak. When it's time to serve, presentation matters. Slice the ribeye against the grain. Look for the direction the muscle fibers are running and cut perpendicular to them. Slice the steak into thick, half-inch strips. Fan the slices out on a warm platter to showcase that perfect, edge-to-edge, medium-rare pinkness. You can garnish with a sprinkle of flaky sea salt like Maldon for a final touch of texture and saline crunch. A drizzle of your pan sauce also makes for a beautiful and delicious finish. To complete the meal, consider your side dishes. A perfect steak deserves equally perfect companions. Classic steakhouse sides are always a winning choice. Think creamy mashed potatoes, crispy roasted Brussels sprouts, or a simple creamed spinach. When it comes to wine, a bold red wine like a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Malbec is a classic pairing that stands up to the robust flavor of the beef. So there you have it. The reverse sear method demystified. It might seem like more work at first glance, with its multiple stages and emphasis on temperature control. But in reality, it is a more forgiving and reliable path to steak perfection. By separating the gentle interior cooking from the aggressive exterior searing, you remove the guesswork that plagues traditional methods. You are no longer racing against the clock, desperately trying to get a good crust before the center of your expensive steak turns a disappointing shade of gray. You are in complete control, orchestrating each step with precision. The benefits are clear and tangible. The primary advantage is the unparalleled evenness of cooking. Your steak will boast a consistent, beautiful pink color from one edge to the other, with only the thinnest, most delicate of crusts. The secondary benefit is the improved browning. The initial low and slow cook effectively dries the surface, creating the ideal canvas for a rapid, efficient sear that results in a darker, crispier, and more flavorful crust than you ever thought possible at home. This method transforms a good cut of meat into an extraordinary one. It respects the ingredient, allowing the quality of the beef to shine through. It's a technique that builds confidence. After successfully reverse searing a steak once, you'll understand the process and feel empowered to replicate it time and time again. It turns a potentially stressful cooking event into a calm, controlled, and ultimately rewarding experience. Ultimately, the reverse sear is more than just a recipe. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about cooking thick cuts of meat. It's about applying a little bit of science to achieve a demonstrably better result. Once you've tasted the difference, that perfectly uniform interior, that intensely flavorful crust, I'm willing to bet you'll find it very difficult to ever cook a thick-cut steak any other way again. Welcome to the revolution.